Stop everything you're doing right now because what I'm about to reveal will absolutely blow your mind. 48 hours. That is how much time could stand between right now and the United States launching a military assault on Iran that could trigger the largest war in the Middle East in decades. Multiple news organizations, including CNN, CBS News, and The Washington Post, are reporting that the US military has told President Donald Trump they are prepared to strike Iran as early as this weekend. Saturday, February 22nd, or Sunday, February 23rd. The Pentagon has assembled the largest American strike force in the region since the 2003 Iraq invasion. 2 aircraft carriers, hundreds of fighter jets, thousands of troops. And it is all happening with almost no public debate, no congressional authorization, and no clear explanation from the White House about why American lives should be risked in a war that could last for weeks or even months. I have the military buildup details. I have a lack of oversight. I have the timeline. And I have the analysis showing why this could be the most reckless military decision in modern American history. Comment right now. Should Congress have to vote before Trump starts a war? Let me start with the most important fact. The United States military is ready to attack Iran as soon as this weekend, and Congress has not been consulted. CBS News reported on February 19th, yesterday, that top national security officials have briefed President Trump that the military could launch strikes as early as Saturday, February 22nd. CNN confirmed the same timeline. The Washington Post reported that the Trump administration appears ready to launch an extended military assault on Iran, not a limited strike, an extended assault. That means weeks, not days. And here is the part that should alarm every American who believes in constitutional government. Congress has not authorized this war. There has been no vote in the House of Representatives. There has been no vote in the Senate. There has been no public hearing where military leaders explain the mission, the risks, and the costs. There has been no debate on the floor of Congress about whether the United States should go to war with a country of 90 million people. Trump has simply ordered the military into position, and he could give the order to strike at any moment. Hit subscribe right now, because if this war starts, you need every update in real time. Now let me show you the scale of what Trump has deployed, because this is not a small operation. This is bigger than anything the United States has done in the Middle East since the invasion of Iraq in 2003. The Pentagon has sent 2 full aircraft carrier strike groups to the region. The USS Abraham Lincoln is already in position near Iran. The USS Gerald Ford is on its way. Each carrier has approximately 80 combat aircraft, that is 160 jets from the carriers alone, but that is just the beginning. Bloomberg reported on February 19th that more than 150 U.S. military cargo flights have transported weapons, ammunition, and equipment to the Middle East in recent weeks. Axios reported that in just the past 24 hours, one single day, the Pentagon deployed 50 additional fighter jets to the region. These are F-35s, F-22s, and F-16s, the most advanced stealth fighters and multi-role combat aircraft in the world. The Pentagon has also moved refueling tankers, air defense systems, destroyers, cruisers, and submarines into the area. Military analysts are calling this an armada. One source described it to Axios as the largest assembly of U.S. warplanes and warships in the region since 2003. Think about that. The last time the United States had this much military power concentrated in the Middle East was when we invaded Iraq. That war lasted for years. It cost over $1 trillion. It killed hundreds of thousands of people, and it destabilized the entire region for a generation. Drop a comment if you think this looks like the beginning of World War III. Now let me show you the lack of transparency from the White House, because this is where the story becomes truly disturbing. On February 19th, yesterday, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt held a press briefing. A reporter asked her to explain why the United States might need to strike Iran. This should have been an easy question. If you are about to start a war, you should be able to explain why. Leavitt's answer was, "There's many reasons and arguments that one could make for a strike against Iran." That is not an answer. That is a deflection. She did not name a single specific reason. She did not explain what the mission would be. She did not explain what victory would look like. She just said, there are reasons. CNN published an analysis on February 19th with the headline, "Trump's rationale is still opaque as he slides closer to war with Iran." The article points out that Trump has made hardly any effort to share the rationale for potential military action. There is no public case being made to the American people about why their sons and daughters might be sent to war. Compare that to 2003. Before the Iraq War, President George W. Bush spent months making the case for war. He gave speeches. He sent Secretary of State Colin Powell to the United Nations. He convinced Congress to pass an authorization for military force. The intelligence turned out to be wrong. The war turned out to be a disaster, but at least there was a process. At least there was a debate. This time, there is no debate. Congress has not been asked to vote. The public has not been consulted. And according to CNN, Trump himself has not even fully decided what he wants to do. Sources told CNN that Trump has been polling advisors and allies and has privately argued both for and against military action. That means the President of the United States could wake up on Saturday morning, decide to start a war, and launch the largest military operation in the Middle East in over 20 years, all without any oversight or accountability. Share this video if you think this is unconstitutional. Now let me show you what Trump says he wants and why no deal is likely. Trump is demanding that Iran agree to zero uranium enrichment. That means Iran would be banned from enriching any uranium on its soil for any purpose, including civilian nuclear energy. Iran has rejected this demand. Iran points out that the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which is signed by 191 countries, explicitly allows countries to enrich uranium to 3% for peaceful purposes. For Iran to accept a ban on enrichment would be, in the words of one analyst, tantamount to surrender before a shot has been fired. Trump is also demanding that Iran dismantle its ballistic missile program. Iran has said no. Trump is demanding that Iran stop supporting groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen. Iran has said no. On February 18th, 2 days ago, Trump's advisors Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff met with Iran's foreign minister in Geneva. Both sides said the meeting made progress, but U.S. officials told CNN and Axios that the gaps remain enormous. Vice President J.D. Vance said Iran is not willing to accept Trump's red lines. So here's the bottom line. There is no deal coming. And that means Trump is going to have to make a decision. Either he backs down and looks weak after deploying all this military power, or he orders the strike and hopes it goes well. Comment right now. Do you think Trump has already decided to strike? Now let me show you what this war would actually look like, because it would not be quick and it would not be easy. CNN reported on February 19th that Trump's military options range from targeted strikes on nuclear facilities to a full-scale campaign aimed at toppling the Iranian regime. Sources told CNN that some of the military plans include taking out Tehran's leaders. That means assassinating Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. That would be an act of war designed to cause regime change. Multiple sources told CNN, The Washington Post, and Axios that if Trump orders an attack, it would be a weeks-long military operation. It would not look like the quick strike Trump ordered last month in Venezuela, where U.S. forces captured Nicolas Maduro in a single night. It would not even look like the 12-day war between Israel and Iran last June. This would be a sustained campaign involving the U.S. and Israel. Targets would include Iran's nuclear sites, missile production facilities, military command centers, and possibly government leadership. And here is the part no one is talking about. What happens after the strikes? If the US and Israel topple Iran's government, who replaces it? What happens to Iran's nuclear material? What happens to Iran's missiles? Secretary of State Marco Rubio admitted in congressional testimony last month that no one really knows who would replace Iran's supreme leader if he were ousted. So the United States is preparing to start a war that could decapitate a foreign government without any plan for what comes next. Does that sound familiar? Because that is exactly what happened in Iraq. The US invaded in 2003, toppled Saddam Hussein, and had no plan for what came next. The result was years of chaos, sectarian violence, and the rise of ISIS. And now Trump is preparing to do the same thing in Iran, a country 3 times the size of Iraq with 3 times the population. Hit subscribe if you think Trump is repeating the mistakes of Iraq. Now let me show you the contradiction at the heart of Trump's argument, because it makes no sense. Trump has repeatedly said he already destroyed Iran's nuclear program. Last June, Trump ordered Operation Midnight Hammer, a series of strikes on Iran's underground uranium enrichment facilities. After the strikes, Trump said he had completely and totally obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities. He said it was over. He said Iran could no longer build a nuclear weapon. But this week, Rafael Grossi, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, told reporters that most of the material that Iran had accumulated is still there in large quantities. Grossi said the facilities were damaged, but the uranium was not destroyed. So if Trump already obliterated Iran's nuclear program, why is he preparing to strike again? And if he did not actually obliterate the program, why did he say he did? The answer is simple. Trump lied. He claimed victory in June to boost his approval ratings. But the uranium is still there, and now he is being forced to deal with the reality that his first strikes did not accomplish what he said they did. Drop a comment if you think Trump is about to start a war to cover up his failure. Now here is what Iran is doing in response, and why this could spiral into a regional war. Yesterday, Iran announced joint naval exercises with Russia in the Sea of Oman. Iran's military said the exercises are designed to prevent any unilateral action in the region. That is code for, we are preparing to defend against a U.S. attack. Iran's Revolutionary Guard also conducted war games this week in the Strait of Hormuz. That is the narrow waterway where 1/5 of the world's oil passes through. If Iran closes the strait, which it has threatened to do if attacked, global oil prices would skyrocket overnight. Iran's supreme leader posted an image yesterday showing the USS Gerald Ford, the American aircraft carrier heading to the region, sitting at the bottom of the ocean. The message was clear: Iran believes it can sink a US carrier. Now, that is probably bluster. US carriers are heavily defended, but Iran does have advanced missiles. And in a war, Iran would absolutely try to hit American ships. That means American sailors are at risk. And it is not just Iran. Russia has aligned itself with Iran. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warned this week that any U.S. strike on Iran would have serious consequences. China is Iran's biggest oil customer. If the U.S. strikes Iran and oil exports are disrupted, China's economy takes a hit. That creates tension between the U.S. and China. And suddenly, what started as a US-Iran conflict has the potential to draw in Russia and China. That is how regional wars become world wars. Share this video if you think World War III is a real possibility. Now let me show you the political context, because Trump's approval ratings are in the gutter and the midterm elections are 9 months away. A Reuters poll has Trump at 38% approval, that is 22 points underwater. Generic ballot polling shows Democrats leading by 6 points. Experts are predicting Democrats could gain 20 to 25 House seats in November. Trump is facing a political wipeout. Some analysts believe that is why Trump is considering military action now. A successful war could boost his approval ratings temporarily. It could rally Republicans and give the party something to campaign on. But if the war goes badly, if American troops are killed, if oil prices surge, if the economy tanks, Trump's numbers could collapse even further, and Republicans could lose both the House and the Senate. So the question is Trump making this decision based on what is best for America? Or is he making it based on what is best for his political survival? Comment right now. Do you trust Trump to make this decision? Now here is what happens next and why the timeline is critical. Trump gave Iran 10 to 15 days to make a deal. That deadline expires around March 1st to March 5th, but the military is ready now. Strikes could come as early as this weekend, Saturday, February 22nd or Sunday, February 23rd. Trump has not made a final decision, but the fact that the military is in position means the decision could come at any moment. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is scheduled to visit Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on February 28th next week. That meeting could be the final diplomatic push before strikes are ordered, or it could be the meeting where Rubio tells Netanyahu that Trump has decided to act. We do not know, and that is the problem. The American people do not know what their government is planning. Congress does not know. The public has not been consulted, and the White House cannot or will not explain why this war is necessary. This is the most dangerous moment in US-Iran relations in decades. The United States is on the brink of launching the largest military operation in the Middle East since 2003. It could start as soon as this weekend. It could last for weeks. It could cost billions of dollars and thousands of lives. And it is all happening without any democratic process, without any oversight, and without any accountability. Subscribe right now for updates as this develops. Share this video so people understand the stakes. And drop a comment, because if Congress will not debate this war, then the American people need to.